What's your way, David, of describing the sort of silky skill and the art of copywriting that you've brought to bear?
I guess the way to describe it is I help people get response in whatever that way they need to get a response, whether that's sending a letter to one person, that $1 billion deal depends on, or whether that's writing an ad that goes to millions of people, or a sales letter that goes to, millions of people, whether it's a post on social media. We all want to get response. We all want to be responded to in one way or another. And I help people with the persuasion, like how do you persuade someone? How do you convince them it's in their best interest to respond? What are the mechanisms that have proven effective for that? And how do you even think about that? Because I think a lot of copywriting is really thinking. It's not, these words, and I got to do these words here in this order, but it's really just thinking about what is their day like? What is that person like? And what do they care about? What keeps them up? And what are they going to respond to?
And then writing into their pain in how you actually persuade them.
Yes, exactly. First thinking into their pain, though.
Yes.
Because I think people make the mistake of writing too quickly.
Yes.
Before they've really thought it out.
What are some of the campaigns you're most proud of in this extraordinary 40-year career?
It was fun doing stuff for General Foods when I got to work with the Wicked Witch of the West from The Wizard of Oz, Margaret Hamilton. She was kind of the spokesperson for the advertising. And the things that I remember are the biggest challenges. Like one time I had to write a book for what's called estate planning, which means after you die, how do you make sure your money goes to the right people? How do you make sure that your heirs don't get taxed and all that? And it was just, not only was it the most boring subject in the world, it was the most depressing subject in the world, because who wants to think about when they're gone? And the challenge of doing that and making it interesting, the bullets like how to avoid accidentally disinheriting your heirs, right? Turning boring stuff into stuff
that's a very important question. We're already thinking that's hooked me. We're all interested. Yeah. What's the answer?
But it really taught me, how do you take something that's boring and just factual and turn it into interesting? Because I think that's what copywriting is.
And you're mentioning legacy was a brilliant segue into something at the very end that, as we know, we first connected when I talked to you about something called legacylifereflections.com, which is something I'm working on at the moment. And you were very generous in when I first got in touch with you. You gave me some copy ideas for it already, which I noticed was very instinctive of you.
Yeah, I remember that. And that's something I love to do. You talk about what do I do or what do I love to do? It's that. Like it's looking at something and seeing what it needs. And, where it needs to go.
Where does David L. Deutsch, copywriter, copy coach, game changer, go to get clutter-free, inspirational and able to think? Where is your clearing?
In terms of just where I love to go, it's any place with a vista, any place with a view, whether that's in the ocean and you can look out onto the horizon, whether it's a lake, whether it's a mountain, looking at mountains, being on top of a mountain, being on top of a high building. There's something very inspiring about seeing more of the totality. It's like that Merlin thing where Merlin educated King Arthur in England when all the tribes were fighting with each other and said, I want to take you something. And he took him above England and he said, what do you see? And King Arthur said, there are no borders. There are no lines like on the map separating everyone. Said, that's right. And it taught Arthur something about how to look at his country as being without borders and without division. And there's something about being high, seeing an open vista, I think, that really inspires and feeds me in a way that being inside in a room or being in a forest where you can't see, far away does. So that's kind of what came to me for that one.
And if I may congratulate you for the notion of a world-renowned copywriter taking a world without borders as your vista to then have as your clearing. That's my interpretation of what you just said, and I loved it.
Yeah, well, I think it opens you up to different ways of thinking. The clutter-free place where I do my best thinking is like on an airplane with my Remarkable, where I can just write and there are no distractions. It's just that kind of sensory deprivation almost. You can't be interrupted.
And there's a travelling towards the new horizon you're travelling towards if you're doing that on an aircraft.
Advertising isn't winning awards. Advertising isn't being clever and doing commercials. You're really proud of how creative they are, right? It's about getting results. It's about selling things. It's about getting awareness and changing people's minds. And then I think the other thing that has shaped me over the years as I think about it is music. Something that I've always done and has just always helped me in terms of having a discipline like that. And also in terms of, I think, pattern recognition, because music is patterns, right? It's patterns of notes. And it's very hard to play music if you don't see the pattern. If you don't see, oh, it's a scale going up. Oh, it's going down in thirds. Oh, look, it's repeating the same pattern. Oh, now it's the pattern inverted, right? Bach just turned it upside down to do it.
And it's the symphony of copywriting as well. That's very resonant. Yes.
And, the symphony of, A, B, A, B, A, what comes first, what comes next. And so it's helped me to look at writing in a way, in the same way. Like, what are the patterns? What is the systems? What is the structure?
A symphonic approach to writing. That's lovely. And did you study music to get your appreciation of the inner workings, the system?
I did. Actually, I was a music major in college, and I was all set to go on to graduate school. And, I was going to be a music history major because I wasn't a good enough performer to perform.
I mean, I'm imagining you on a piano at this point, but maybe not. What was the instrument you were playing?
Yeah,
oh, right.
Yeah, I am kind of keyboard. And I don't want to just keep going to school and learning. I want to go out in the real life. And so I kind of turned down a scholarship to go to grad school and instead did some teaching and then wound up at Ogilvy. Charlie Munger, who you may know, he was kind of the brains behind Berkshire Hathaway with Warren Buffett. And he said something that I've always loved. It is remarkable how much long-term advantage can be had by trying to be constantly not stupid instead of being very intelligent. And I love that because I think a lot of what I teach about creativity is helping people find the obvious, right? Or at least what is obvious in retrospect. And sometimes, like, for instance, that's the opposite of what everyone else is doing. Because the intelligent thing is, to do what everyone else is doing and try to do it better and improve upon it and be intelligent about it. And when in reality, it's just, well, why not just do something completely different? Why not, instead of doing a regular soft drink, why not do something called Red Bull and make it the opposite of drinks? Make it not taste good. Make it really expensive. Make it in a little bitty can. No caffeine. No, we're going to fill it with caffeine. Yes. Right? We're going to fill no sugar. We're going to fill it with sugar, and
was this your idea?
In retrospect, that's very obvious.
Yes.
Right. So it's like, don't be stupid. Don't do what everyone else is doing. And I think sometimes we, and myself included, just try to outsmart ourselves. And I think that's especially true in writing, where people become very, well, let me remember all the things I learned about writing and the formulas, and I need to begin with a startling fact, and I need to be, and they just forget the very obvious fact of that you're just trying to persuade someone, and you're just trying to persuade them the same way you would persuade them sitting across the table from you. So don't be stupid. Don't get away from that. Do the obvious thing and just say what you would say to me if you were sitting across the table from me.
And could we deliberately reincorporate the quote? Because it was such a wonderful one that I think, and it's multi-layered. So can we hear it again?
It is remarkable how much long-term advantage you can have by trying to be consistently not stupid instead of very intelligent. As a mentor of mine once said after an interview, I think when he was asked the same question, I think I've already said much more than I know.
Lovely.
But I've always liked that. No, I would just say, stop thinking of being a writer, stop thinking of writing, and just think about how you would talk to people, how you would persuade people, how you would face to face what you would say about something. Just find your inner writer Don't write from ideas that you have. A lot of times people's writing is the echo of everything that they've heard before. And we've somehow managed to go through this whole thing and not even mention AI, but AI compounds that, right? AI is an amalgamation of everything that has gone before. And it doesn't have that ability to sit in front of someone and talk to someone, or envision what it would be like to sit in front of someone and talk to someone and see their reactions and hear their objections and just intuitively know, oh, this is going to create resistance or this is going to lower resistance. So find that in yourself and write from there.
Lovely final comment. And I actually really love the fact we haven't necessarily mentioned all things AI. This is about being human, warm and connecting, which is the whole raison d'etre of what the Good Listening To show it continues to be up to, actually.